Hey everyone, thanks for checking out my video today. I've been playing Aska for about a week now, and got to the point where I wanted to build an outpost. So I went and looked online. I couldn't find any specific information about outposts. I saw a lot of videos of people building them in their playthroughs, but I don't want to sit through an hour of video to try to glean a few tidbits of information from it. So anyway, thought I'd make this video. We're going to talk about what an outpost is and what it does, okay? So basically, an outpost is a multi-purpose building. It's kind of an all-in-one control center, or it can be used as fortified storage, okay? So if you think about the Eye of Odin in your main base being the hub of the wheel that your main base is built around, the outpost, which is right here, is the hub of what your outpost or your logging camp or your mining camp or your next big town or village is built around. Okay? So I built mine fairly close. You don't want to build it too close because it will be, you'll get some crossover. Because if you see here, everything you build in that circle is going to be tied to this outpost. Everything built outside that circle, which I just found out, belongs to main. And we'll get into that shortly. But what are the components of an outpost? Now, I've added some stuff to this. Basically, when you build this, you got these 4 buildable sections here, and those are warehouse sections. And then this outpost, when it's built, comes with a builder's post. So if you open the menu, you can add walls, 2 different types of walls that increase the hit points. So basically this is kind of an all-in-one. You can add a watchtower, which I did, which adds security for that same circle of the outpost. But what about the storage? That's essentially a warehouse, that's self-contained. How does that compare? Well, a main warehouse, the main building of a warehouse that we build by itself, is a 12 by 12 with a 2 by 12 aisle or runway down the center. So you basically get 2 6 by 12 sections, or 2 5 by 12, sections on either side. So you basically got 120 building squares for storage and racks. And then if you add an extension, that is a 10 by 12, obviously with a 2 by 12 out of that. So you've got 2 5 by 10 sections. So each one of those is 60 buildable units. So with a warehouse with 2 expansions or extensions, whatever they're called, you basically get 220 buildable sections. Okay? But with the outpost, you get 4, and bear with me, I know it's a lot of numbers, 4 by 10s. So that's 160. So that is almost comparable to a warehouse with 2 extensions. Now, the caveat to that is, like I said, the warehouse and the extensions are 5 wide, where these are 4 wide. Well, what difference does that make? Well, a food storage rack is a 3 by 3, and you can put a meat rack beside it, which is a 2 by 3 in a regular warehouse. On this, you can't do that. So you got to be a little more creative to not waste as much space. So the 160, you're probably not going to be utilize as much of that as you would probably have thought until you start, trying to do the math or wedge that stuff in there. So we can assign villagers and markers to the outpost. Now, a villager can live here and work somewhere else. A villager can work here and live somewhere else. I think I said that right. live here and work somewhere else, or work here and live somewhere else, or they can live here and work here. So that's a little complicated. To me, when I first started this, I had a guy working down here and he was running back and forth. It's horribly inefficient, but I just wanted to see how that was all going to jive out. The kicker to that, and I just figured this out the hard way, within that circle, every building that's highlighted the same color as the outpost is tied to the outpost. Okay? If you look up here, this cottage is not tied to that outpost. I'd put all my people from this outpost there, and then they ran all the way back to Maine for breakfast. And I'm like, what the heck? Well, it's outside that circle. They're not assigned. They weren't assigned to the outpost. They lived here in this cottage, and they worked here, but they were still tied to Maine for food. So I moved them to this cottage, and they're all showing up as, being a part of the outpost. And I'll show you. You open their menu. See, now it's showing under Outpost. He's now Outpost 2, but I had him in the wrong, not in the wrong, but I had him in a building that wasn't tied to the Outpost. So what we can do, we can go over here, do this, switch it from Main to Outpost 2. It'll be highlighted blue. Problem solved. Okay, so I can do all that with all this stuff because I had the same problem with smoker pen and I moved it, but now I know I can just build the other one because I'm going to build like 6 of these. So I have a cheese facility, but that gets all your people and all of your buildings under the outpost, but they've got to be tied to the outpost, and you do that by tying the buildings if they're outside the blue circle. If they're inside the blue circle where they live, you're golden. They work here and they live here, so they're a part of that. So that's people and buildings. Well, what about markers? Markers are kind of the same way. You go to the marker, open the menu, and you can change between Main and Outpost. Okay, so I could change this from Main to the Outpost, but that's not where my forester lives. So anyway, that's kind of an overview of Outposts and how they work and how it flows, and if you've got people that are like I had a whole herd, everybody left and went and ate breakfast at Main. Wasted, probably an in-game hour. So if you got problems like that, it could be because the building they're living in is not tied to the outpost. So anyway, hope that helps. If it did, leave a like, comment, subscribe. You know how the routine works. Appreciate it. Thanks.